On December 4th, I recorded and uploaded a video that would end up changing my life. Now, I think when you would hear most people say something like that, you would often think about a video that went viral and allowed them to get attention for something they were able to make great changes in, or people like myself, where it could potentially start a career. December 4th was the day that I uploaded the Funny Mike video. I really just came out with that video, like I've said in the past, for a good buddy of mine named Pimped Calc. I recorded and edited it pretty quick, typed a random title and made a quick thumbnail in MS Paint. I thought it was cool, so I decided to post it on the SMP Live subreddit, and from there they picked it up and people loved it. The video slowly was gaining about a couple hundred views a day, which was insane for me. This was the first video I ever made that was not only doing well, but that people liked. I got so many nice comments and people reaching out to me, and at that time had 130% audience retention. I have made multiple hundreds of videos even before the Funny Mike one. All of them have been permanently deleted and unrecoverable, with the exception of the ones I've talked about previously, because I was too embarrassed about them. The one thing though that made the Funny Mike video even at the time very special to me was that people liked it. I think it took some determination to keep uploading YouTube videos my entire life, just because I enjoyed doing it. I'm proud of that, especially after the couple of people that did see it, saw it, then didn't like it. I think I may have said this before, and even lived by it, but I no longer agree with it. It's that you should make YouTube videos for yourself. Just from my own experience and other people's, making YouTube videos just for yourself is incredibly difficult, and most of the time impossible. I think the primary motivation that makes most people want to make videos is to share something with others. I think selfless motivation is amazing, but it's good to make sure you don't get lost in doing things that you don't find enjoyable. You can, and should, love what you're doing for other people. I feel like too often people get too focused on the success of their videos at times, especially now, including myself. Past the Funny Mike video at launch doing pretty well, I just kind of was making a couple of videos that sounded like they were fun to make, but the primary motivation to why I was making videos was that I had someone in mind. Before I continue, I need to stress to make sure you or I don't feel entitled, that if people are not watching your videos, there is probably a solid reason for it. It's the tough reality, but nearly every single scenario, it's that the people who are doing better on the platform are successful because they are better at doing whatever they want to do, better than you. If thoughts like this make you demotivated, then you most likely won't make it. You should be motivated to improve and keep working on what you can do. Stop focusing on thinking you deserve more than what other people have, and focus more on how you can make what you do actually better. I have been told multiple times that I'm an underrated YouTuber, but I disagree. I think even though it's harder mentally, I would be doing better if I actually deserved it. February 12th, though, was truly when my life changed even more aggressively, and it was when the Funny Mike video blew up. It went from a couple hundreds of views it was getting a day to 5 to 20,000 views a day. My channel and everything around it began exploding. Something that meant a lot to me was that, at the time, it wasn't just that video doing well. It exploded my entire channel. People were not only watching what I was making, but loving it. I went just from some random asshole laying in his bed, staring at the wall, dreaming of one day of succeeding in my dream of entertaining others, to actually being able to wake up the next day and do it. I often find myself looking back on one video in my channel more than any other when I'm feeling bad, and it's not even any of the Funny Mike videos. It's actually the video I made called The Feeling to Have Finally Made It. I think at the time of making this video, it was the happiest point I ever was in my life. For the first time, I was waking up every single morning, shooting out of bed to get to doing something that I considered productive. Whether that was being more aggressive about bettering my life because YouTube made me care about it more, or because I wanted to actually work on a video for YouTube. During this time, I was working a full-time job, going to university full-time, creating a video every day, and even for a short time, doing all of that with COVID. So I'm like, okay, how many people have beat their meat with Big Rona? And I thought to myself that it'd have to be insanely small. A ludicrously small amount of people. Potentially I'm the only one. So I took it upon myself to make history. I quickly realized, though, that I really didn't give a shit anymore about things being tough. Something as simple as washing the dishes became this important event to me, because if I didn't procrastinate it and worked hard at it, what I was doing would actually give me more time to do the things I cared about. I was doing far too much, though. I think that if you spend a lot of time doing a lot of different things, you end up doing all of them poorly. So I decided to drop out of university again. I think being a college dropout isn't exactly nice to the ego, but doing it a second time really cements me as being a retard. I learned something though. It's that my future wasn't going to come through traditional academia. I didn't care about school, I didn't care about my job, all I cared about was going home to keep working on YouTube. Now I still find that I have far more things to do than I have times in the day. I have a to-do list piling with things to do, I've not spent enough time working on YouTube videos, I'm not streaming as much as I would like to, and constantly thinking about what I want to do when I'm done with my shift makes me distracted at work. I still had one accompanying thought though, which is, do I regret the Funny Mike video blowing up? Honestly, I think part of me does, but I think I might need to thank that happening to anything that happens good in my life going forward from hard work, because it allowed me to see how hard I could work towards something in my life. I'm strongly in belief that there must be a healthy balance of your mental state. With the exception of things such as depression, where you are far too focused on the negative things, most people find happiness in things because they are relatively better than other things that are going on in their life. However, even if your life is filled with a constant event that previously made you the happiest you ever were, you eventually lust for something even greater. Now that you're used to that feeling, you lust for a high that was just as big as the one you have now gained tolerance to. I understand that you can find content with your life and where you are, and if you don't, then you're just going to constantly be miserable for something you could have that's even greater, but just saying that's the easy part. Actually being content with not just stagnation, but the negative decline of my content has plagued over me and what I spend the majority of my time doing. I think there has been nothing to put a fire under my ass like this content creation thing has. Now that I have a taste of what I always dreamed of, I want to get up every single day to work off my ass for it. This is my own way acting on my core philosophy I've mentioned multiple times before, nihilistic optimism, where if you find no purpose in your own life, then you should live it for others. I think it was pretty easy to tell myself to live for others when I needed a push to get off my feet and no longer leech off of the world around me. When it comes past that and actually working on making lives around yours better, you have to choose how you do it. I'm sure that there is always a way you can optimally go about that, but it's not that easy. It sucks to be human. A big part of that is that we are very opinionated beasts. You may think you could live your best life if you were a doctor, but what does that mean if you hate the medical field? You must find something you can love that may also bring a positive impact to those around you. Yet I cannot settle down the thoughts that the grass might be greener on the other side. I originally began this part to express my constant thoughts of thinking where I would be if I continued focusing on computer science in university or just programming in general, and how far I would be in my life instead of spending time making YouTube videos, but slaving in front of a compiler on one monitor and Stack Overflow on the other. If I could just love programming the way I love making videos and streaming, instead of just enjoying it, I could have really gone pretty far in my life instead of just where I am, dumping my time into chasing a dream that might not ever actually happen. One thing I have learned very clearly though, overthinking nearly everything, is that the easiest way to see burnout is through indecisiveness. The biggest red flag, that maybe it's time to take a break, move on, or figure out how to change things up, is through not knowing what you should be doing, or questioning why you were doing anything in the first place. For the most part, the entire script up to this point was written in some sort of manic frenzy about a month before I returned to it. I feel with my mental health being known, I need to specify coming up I am referring to a demon in a metaphorical sense. I have for the last couple of months had this inner demon inside of me constantly wishing that instead of slaving away at YouTube, I could have slaved away at developing a practical skill in my life such as programming. The demon constantly tells me that the success of the channel was not based around my values as an entertainer, but sheer luck in being able to produce a couple of guides that people found funny, and there was a massive untapped market for. The biggest problem is that I think I agree with the demon. My channel's success seems to be entirely centered around one thing, and it is the success of the Funny Mike guides. At first I perceived the channel doing well because that gave it a kickstart towards people also potentially enjoying my other content. Over time they gained what is now overwhelming statistical evidence for my channel's success to be solely those guides. If those guides are doing well, my channel is doing well, which is fantastic, but the troubling part is that if those videos are not doing well, my channel does relatively speaking extremely poorly. This left me siding with my demon. So about a month ago, I took some time off YouTube to really think about what I wanted to do with my life. I considered quitting YouTube and even deleting my account. I considered just pushing through the burnout. I even made a video where I announced I was taking a break, but as I went to publish the video, I felt an overwhelming amount of loneliness and loss of purpose, so I decided not to. I came to the realization that if I care about getting my life together, I need to diversify in what I love. However, I need to at least keep a core of that is something that is not only productive, but safe in the sense that if I work hard, I will find success in it. YouTube, no matter how hard you work on it, always has a chance to never go anywhere. I genuinely think that if you want to find success, you should focus more on the quality of your videos and people will naturally come, but there is absolutely still a luck factor. I also feel like I was incredibly lucky, and yet YouTube did not become quite what I was dreaming of. Oftentimes YouTube is hard work until you are able to be in the right place at the right time. The timing was right with my mic guides blowing up, but my place was wrong. The place I am mentally is weak, the place I am with the quality of my content is pathetic, and the place I am as a human being is pitiful. However, I have two pretty clear options ahead of me. The first is my instinct reaction, and it was just to quit. Accept my faults, tell myself I'll never be good enough, and just quit. Leave everything behind and just continue on to another chapter in my life, or I could raise my head up high and start working my ass off to make sure I'm in the right place the next time luck comes around, or even if it potentially never does. I'm going slightly off script here to actually talk about actually pushing through this burnout, and I'm feeling more motivated to make YouTube videos now, which is why you've seen the mouse video and the future of this channel video, and now this, is that I actually, for the first time since I created this channel, I am seeing growth not relative to the funny mic guides blowing up, and it's extremely good feeling. I think it's kind of showing me that, hey, I might have a potential of making stuff other than shitty mic guides, and it's really nice. But I'm gonna go ahead and continue on with the script. So what do I do to actually try YouTube again without constantly going in cycles of feeling burnt out? It's to stop giving a shit about what doesn't matter. Like I mentioned earlier, the parts that were killing me inside were the statistical performance of the channel. If I could have the mental discipline to care about what actually matters, and stop feeling like such an entitled bitch, I think it would be the best thing I could to actually improve what I do here. Those times I spent dreading over the analytics page of YouTube could have been spent actually bettering the audio, visual, speech, or comedic values of my videos. I understand now that the times I would criticize others for feeling entitled was absolutely projecting what I was attempting to force down. Even though I didn't quite understand that's what I was feeling at the time, it perfectly explains the behavior and mindset I would have about many things. So it's time to stop giving a shit. I have now banned myself from using the YouTube analytics button. I tend to be an incredibly analytical person, so this is hard for me, but I need to spend that energy in better places like I just mentioned before. From the time I was 8 until very recently, I had a TeamSpeak 3 server that a couple years ago became a Discord server. It was called, and I'm not joking, Via Everything. I know it's probably weird to mention, but it had an enormous effect on my life. I never really cared about interacting with people much in real life, but I consider myself a very social person, just not traditionally. And I far preferred interacting with people online, so that TeamSpeak server turned into 95% of my social interaction. The people that were on there were always just myself and a small group of friends. We would usually have about 5 to 10 active people that would hop on nearly every night to talk to each other. I would get incredibly attached to these people as I was trying to nurture a community where I would interact with a core group of people nearly every second of my free time. But almost all of them would eventually leave. Many people I would spend years talking to for hours every single day would have just eventually stopped getting on as much, and eventually talked to me for the final time without me even knowing at that moment. I enjoyed and appreciated the people that would talk to me, but I felt often that I was just a stepping stone. I would often try to find people that didn't have anyone else to talk to, let them join and have a community of people, but eventually would always get their life together. Oftentimes they would find friends in real life, they would find friends that aligned with their personal hobbies better, or they would simply find something else to spend their time on. I was always happy for them, but I hated to see them go. I hated to see that I was just someone people would talk to when they had no one else. Yet I do not regret running that TeamSpeak server for a second, because without it I wouldn't have had anything. For pretty much the first time in my life I stopped using it also, as nearly the last people faded off from using it, and as I got busy with balancing university, a job, and the YouTube channel. I'm pretty happy that most people I interact with think alright of me. Not to gloat, but I tend to get along with most people. However, it's never good enough for them to stick around. I would be someone they would talk to for a while after school on a TeamSpeak server. I was someone they might talk to at school or work, but never someone they would actually want to hang out with outside of it. I seem to always just be a chapter in people's lives, never anything more. Most people just forget about me. This has been something I realized when I was young, still think about constantly, and being honest, I have no idea how to fix it. I'm sure when it's my time to go, I can look back at my life, and I hope I'm pissed with it. I hope that I still hunger to do things better, even if I ever find success. At my deathbed, I would rather die alone than with people by my side because I made sacrifices, even though it's potentially going against my personal philosophy of nihilistic optimism because it is gambling with it. But I never just want to be normal. If I can be of value to other people, I don't want it to be the same way as so many others who came before me managed to do it.